Hello guys, welcome to lesson 2 of week 1. So far we've been talking about absolute values. In the first part you talked about how to graph them. Now we're going to talk about how to solve them. Right? If you remember from your definition of absolute value, kind of real basically, it is distance from 0. I know you had that number line where we talked with, we had 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, right? And if I looked at the absolute value of 2, well, 2 is 2 spaces away from 0, so its absolute value is 2. Whereas the absolute value of -2 does the exact same thing. We're 2 spaces away from 0. It's also 2. Right, this disregards sign. It disregards if it's positive or negative and just says what's the magnitude or what's the actual number. Okay, some things to kind of keep in mind is here's the formal definition of it. Not something that I'm going to need you to memorize, but it will be something that we will use. Okay, so the big thing with this absolute value discussion is it makes negatives positive and keeps positives positives. Everything stays positive, right? So if I have the absolute value of 6, it's 6. The absolute value of -6 is also 6. Okay, I can do this with anything. It takes a number, make sure it's positive. So when I talk about solving these, all right, we're going to look at a graphical representation here. So this first question says graphically, for which values of x does y equal 1? Well, y equal 1 is this horizontal line here. All right, what we can see is when y equals 1, x equals 1, and x equals 3. Right, notice there are 2 places where y equals 1. All right, so what does this mean? If we were to evaluate y equals the absolute value of x minus 2 at both of these values, all right, we get y is equal to the absolute value of 1 minus 2, which is the absolute value of -1, which makes negatives positives, so it just becomes 1. Similarly, if I looked at y is equal to the absolute value of 3 minus 2, we get the absolute value of +1, which equals 1. Okay, and so notice we get 1 in both cases here. All right, so how does this information help us solve? Well, this gives us 2 situations. All right, when we're looking at this inside piece, the inside piece can be either negative or positive. So with solving, we always get 2 equations to solve. So 2 equations. All right, there's a couple ways to think about that. I traditionally jump to this equals the positive and negative version. Another way to kind of think about that is this inside piece, right? So this 2x minus 2 can either be positive or -6, right? Because that's kind of what we're hoping to get. So 1, I can say 2x minus 2 equals 6. And 2, I can say -2x minus 2 equals 6. However, in this second one, I traditionally go ahead and skip to the next part of the solution, just say 2x minus 2 equals -6. Okay, so we get both those solutions as above. The reason I want to highlight it this way is it's going to help us when we get to inequalities. All right, so to solve this, we just solve both using our normal SADMAP, whatever you want to call it, your inverse operations. All right, in this first one, I would add 2. I get 2x equals 8. I divide by 2 and get x equals 4. So that's one of my solutions. On the second one, I would do the exact same inverse operations, right, other than when I add 2 here, I end up with 2x equals -4. And then I divide by 2 to get x equals -2. All right, so my answers, I should have 2. I got x equals 4 and x equals -2. Both of those values, when evaluated into this absolute value, will give you an output of 6, because one of them, the second one, gives you -6. Absolute value of -6 is 6. This first one gives you positive 6. The absolute value of positive 6 is also 6. All right, so what I want you to do now is take some time and do these got it's. When you're done with those or you feel like you got them, check your answers to the answer key on Schoology. Go ahead and start the next video.